Hi everyone. In the previous lecture, we have discussed detective fiction per se and then tried to put the Golden Fortress within that genre. We also tried to see what conventions of the genre Satyajit Ray adopted and what changes he brought about since he had in mind children as his primary audience. Today, we're going to start with the text, The Golden Fortress, chapter wise, and analyze it as we do a close reading of the same. I have with me this Kindle edition, so I'm not very sure if my page numbers would match yours. Anyway, I just hope you're able to benefit from this close reading. You'll also read large portions of text so as to acclimatize you with it. So I begin with the beginning. Now, the first chapter. The first chapter, it opens with the duo Feluda and Topsy. Feluda, it seems, is reading a book of geometry. This seems unusual to many because a book of geometry is not the book we usually pick up to while away the time. And when questioned what is it that he is reading, he immediately gives a long speech enumerating the advantages of the subject and the fact that geometry is omnipresent. I'm reading this portion from the text here. Feluda lit a charminar and blew out two smoke rings, one after the other. There's no such thing as a book on geometry, he told me. Any book may be seen as one, because everything around us is related to geometry. Did you see those smoke rings? When they left my mouth, they were perfect circles. Now just think. There are circles everywhere. Look at your own body. The iris in your eye is a circle. With the help of the iris, you can look at the moon and the sun. If you think of them as flat objects, they are circles. But of course, they are actually spheres, each a solid bubble. That's geometry. The planets in the solar system are orbiting the sun in elliptic curves. There's geometry again. When you spat out the window a little while ago, you shouldn't have done that. It's most unhygienic. And if you do it again, you'll get a sharp rap on the head. But anyway, that spit went out in a parabolic curve. Geometry, see? Have you ever looked at a spider's web in detail? It starts with a simple square. Then two diagonal lines run through it and the square is divided into four triangles. After that, the spider starts weaving a spiral web from the intersecting point of those diagonal lines. That keeps growing in size until it covers the entire square. If you think about it, your head will start reeling. It's something so amazing. So after going into this rant, he even talks more about geometry and the indispensability of it. Why would the author make his detective read a book of geometry? I think doing this serves two purposes. It draws our attention and points out to the reader that our detective is not any ordinary run-of-the-mill 27-year-old. He is different. It creates a kind of an aura around him. Then the relationship between the two, the detective and his assistant, is quickly established in the first chapter itself. Clearly, Topsy is in awe of his cousin Feluda and loves his company. After the long drawn-out speech in geometry and the fact that his omnipresence is over, he asks Feluda, what kind of geometrical pattern does he fall into? And back comes the reply, you might call me a many-pointed star, he says. Intrigued, Topsy asks him, and me? Am I a satellite of the star? And the Feluda says, you are merely a point, something that indicates a position, but of no significance of its own. Here the relationship is clearly decided. Like other famous duos of detective literature, here we have our own Feluda and Topsy. And Topsy, though he is not really agrees to the fact that he is just a point. He wants to be a satellite. No, he would rather see himself to be a satellite. So this is a very important convention that Satyajit Ray had picked up. Once the setting has been done, we are soon told about the crime or the possibility of it. This is clearly in keeping with the convention that a detective novel, where the crime or its announcement is not much delayed. Otherwise, there is an apprehension that the readers might lose interest. A man called Sudhir enters the room and narrates his problem. His son Isim is a Jatismar. That is a person who can recall events from the previous lives. Mukul, his son, has been getting periodic flashes of memories, from his previous life. And Sudhir says, I'm reading this. This is page 5 from that Kindle edition. He says, he's only 8. But he described a place which he is supposed to have seen. Yet I'm sure nobody from my family, not even my forefathers, has been there, let alone my son. We are very ordinary people, you see. I only have that shop and the book trade these days. They think of other possibilities that maybe Mukul must have read about the place he's describing from some book. Feluda says, doesn't your son talk of a fortress? Yes, that's right, a golden fortress. There was a cannon on its roof, a lot of fighting, and several people were killed. My son says he has seen it all. He used to wear a turban and ride a camel on the sand. He mentions sand quite frequently, and animals, camels, elephants, and horses. Oh, and peacocks. There's a mark near his elbow. We always thought it was a birthmark, but he says he was once attacked by a peacock, and the mark shows where the bird backed him. So this is the scenario. There is this man, Sudhir, who thinks his son talks about the previous life. All this is okay, but the problem is when the reminiscence started getting out of him, they consulted a parapsychologist, Dr. Hemang Hajra. As the latter was doing research on the phenomenon, he wanted to take Mukul to Rajasthan, which he believes is the place boy is referring to. Forts and sand and peacocks and all that. It seems he wants him to remember more things, and that might help him in his research. All this is okay. But then here comes the problem. In an interview with the Daily, Mukul had mentioned some treasure. This was enough to lure some rogues to kidnap a boy from the street, thinking it was Mukul. What was causing Mr. Dhar the anxiety was that the kidnappers would want, of course, now to kidnap Mukul, now that they were aware that they had kidnapped the wrong person. Dhar wanted Feluda to follow Dr. Hajra and ensure that Mukul was safe. So you see, the first chapter clearly sets a tone, introduces us to the detective and his assistant, raises apprehension that a crime might have been committed or there could be a possibility of one, and now we are set for the scene. Besides, the first chapter also introduces us to the major characters, Dr. Hajra, Mukul, Sudhir, and of course there's a mention of the kidnappers. I'll continue with the next chapter in the next part. Keep watching. Have a fabulous day.